Hello, and welcome to Community Spotlight. I'm one of your hosts, Diane McCarthy, and with me today is Ginny McKinnon. Ginny is running for a position on the school board. Hello, Ginny.
Hello. How
Hey,
are you, Diane?
thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So good to have you. So why don't we go ahead and just start off and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Ginny McKinnon, and I'm a lifetime resident of Goffstown. I was born and raised here. Actually, I was born at the Moore General Hospital that Rodney Stark decided to vote down.
Oh, stop.
I have married to Mike McKinnon. I have three children, and three grandchildren. We've all attended Goffstown schools and been very pleased with them.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So now you are what I would call a super incumbent. You have served many times on the school board. How many years? Do you know how many terms you've served on the school board?
I honestly don't know how many times. I've run a bunch of times, but also in through the years when my kids were in school, there would be like a 1-year opening. And so they would call me up and say, hey, Ginny, can you fill in this year? And then there would be a block and they'd say, hey, Ginny, can you, we need somebody to fill in. Can you do it? And then when my daughter, Megan, was a junior, she wanted to be the student representative to the school board. And so that was my year to re-up. And I decided I wanted her to be able to have that experience for herself. So I didn't run that year. But then after she did her thing and went off to college, I, re-upped again. So it's been, the past bunch of years, it's been ongoing in a straight line. But, I was doing school board back when my kids were in blotches, and then there was ongoing.
I think it's been at least 15 years straight.
At least.
15 years straight.
Yeah.
So, and we appreciate your service. Most
Thank you.
certainly. It's not an easy job. So why are you running?
Well, I'm running because in being a lifelong Goffstown resident, and my 5 brothers and sisters also attended Goffstown schools. And my parents were very, they felt education was very important. They didn't have a whole lot of higher education possibilities in their life, and they wanted their kids to be able to do better. So that's what we did. They insisted that we all do something after high school, and for all of us it was college. And because of that, I was interested. I have 2 sisters who are teachers. But I thought, this community has given me a lot, has given my family a lot. I really enjoy it here. It's a nice community. There are a lot of things for kids to do, and so I wanted to give back. I think it's important to give back. You can't just be takers. You really have to be givers if you're pleased with the community that you live in.
And I think when you give back, you realize how much work goes into the role.
Absolutely.
And what it takes. And it certainly gives you a better understanding, I found, of what goes on at these tables when you've participated in the process, most definitely.
And it also teaches your kids and the people around you. My kids are so flexible, and husband are so flexible, because October 28th was our anniversary, and I was at the first school board meeting of this year. Mm-hmm. I was at a candidates night on my daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just, because I feel I have the commitment to do this. It's important. I don't just say, well, it's my birthday or it's their birthday, so I can't come tonight. Mm-hmm. You have to put the time and the effort in.
And when one person in the family serves, the entire family serves.
Exactly.
They absolutely, so it's important to have that support.
Yeah.
But we definitely appreciate your dedication.
Yeah.
We talked about your experience. What do you think some of your strongest skills are that you bring to the table as a veteran member?
Well, I think some of it is historical perspective, because I know the town very well, and I know of things that have gone on in town that are important to bring back to school board, that, new people that have moved into town don't have the experience of knowing those things. But also I have the historical perspective of things that have gone on in school over the years. Some of them are important to bring back. Some of them are important to just let them die where they are. But sometimes, I was saying the other night, just sometimes those things are good when you're like, I don't know what we're going to do. We've got to think out of the box on this one. And, you think back and it's like, this worked back then. Maybe this can be resurrected and work in this situation again. And sometimes it does. So when you have some of that knowledge, it helps, I believe.
I agree with you. I think you are spot on. Just the institutional knowledge, understanding how you got there, what a decision might have been of the board. So many times, when I was on the board, we wondered, like, how did we get here? And it was very helpful to have somebody who could explain, oh, well, this is what was happening, and this is why. It makes a whole lot more sense.
And I think I'm a respectful listener. In my nursing career, when I was case managing, you work with families in their home, and it's tough because families are working very hard to get the best for their kids that are having difficulties. And some of the nurses weren't quite as flexible, and they went by the book says do it this way. And families would ask them to leave because, you're making me nervous. You aren't helping me. And so they would always ask me if I would go to the cases that took a little bit more time, a little bit more energy, a little bit more patience to be in. So I think I work in those situations where it takes a little bit more time, a little bit more patience, and can deal with anybody, whomever you are. If you're like the kind of crabby person or the whatever, or the difficult person, and make it work with you, come to a decision with you, to collaborate with you. And so I think that's something that I can do, work with anybody and come to a good outcome. So
Yeah, that's great. So what do you think some of the biggest challenges are facing this school board now?
we have a lot of them. Unfortunately, we have a lot of them right now. Public education is just having a hard time in New Hampshire. I think our biggest one is space needs. I think busing is a big need that we have. I think some of the, I would call them divisive, but I don't really mean divisive. I just think some people don't understand the other side, and I think we have to bring that to some understanding by, instead of getting together and collaborating with people, and not name calling and stuff, but just saying, let's all get together and talk about things. And I just think some of those things would help. I think funding is a huge problem that nobody really wants to take on, but I think that we have to do it. Nobody wants to pay more taxes, and it's not fair for either education students to go without or for taxpayers to be overtaxed. So I think we have to, and I know you and I both know from working on the school board that there is like a percentage of, I don't know, 3% or something that is working percentage that you can actually buy things with or
Right.
get a new teacher with, or the percentage that you have of real working money every year is
tiny.
crazy. And we sit and we, like argue over $1,000 because we have to.
We've argued about 500 before.
And we spend so much time on budgets, going over every line, going over what was paid for, spent, not spent. How can we work all of this together? We work diligently with the budget committee over the same thing and come to so it's tough, but there needs to be something that we can get all of our heads together. The other thing is I think testing is an issue. In New Hampshire over, I don't know, maybe 10 years now, the state testing, standardized testing, has changed so many times. And if it's not the testing itself, the test itself has changed, it'll be either, okay, this year we're doing it by computer, next year we're doing it written, this year it's going to be corrected by hand, this year it's going to be corrected by computer. So all of these different things give you your scores at the end of the year. And people are looking at these scores and saying, the kids aren't doing that well. Well, it's not apples to oranges, because there's all of these different things,
All the variables
that are happening in our testing. So I wished the state would just stop and decide on what the best test is, the best way to give it, and the best way to correct it, and give us something standard. We had that in the past for years and years and years, and our kids deserve that now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a recent development.
It is,
And,
it's hard for teachers because they have to introduce, and they don't teach. I'm not saying they teach to it, but they have to introduce, because the kids have to do it right.
Well, it is
Because
the yardstick they're measured by.
Yeah, if you don't do it right, then it's wrong. So there is some introduction to the standards of the test. So yeah, it's and I would. Am I answering like
You are. No, you're.
8 questions forward?
No, that's great, but I do want to move on.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion nationally, locally, in our state about divisive topics. You touched on it a little bit: parental rights, book bans, etc. What do you see the school board's role is in mediating those discussions as they happen on the local level?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to listen to what the people are concerned about. Respectfully listen to what the problems are with the people that are concerned. Then look into your policies and procedures, see how you can move ahead. Sometimes it takes some education on the topic, because sometimes a lot of the things that I feel that are divisive are things that are put out there in different articles, and you can read this side of an article or that side of an article. Well, what is the honest to God truth that's happening in our schools? Because I don't care what's happening in Idaho and Texas and whatever. You know, what is happening in our schools in the situation that our parents are concerned about? Find out and then put our heads together, collaborate, maybe have some parents come in and collaborate. Do everything with transparency so that everybody can see how we're working and come up with a solution. I'm not a big one on book bans, but because my children loved to read, they were high readers, and they could read most books and understand them. But I understand other people, that's not for their families. So I think, but I also don't think that the books that my kids read should be taken off the shelves necessarily. But I think a way to go through, you know, I think our school needs to, and I know we are because it's coming up shortly, going through the libraries, getting all kinds of information, putting together studies, and coming up with the information that we need to make a safe school for everybody, so that the books that some people don't want their kids to be involved in are taken care of in this way, and the books that other parents don't mind are in another way. And there's different ways of doing that with opt-out. Anyway, different ways of taking care of it, and different ways of placing books. And it can be taken care of easily.
It sure can.
But I don't think we need to fight about it. I think we need to put our heads together and talk about, you know, how we can do this to make everybody happy, because kids learn by reading books. They learn vocabulary, spelling, content, and just to dream. You know, read a book and you can be traveling anywhere. You know,
anywhere,
so
for sure.
it's so important.
Yeah.
And just to hold a book sometimes is so much different than sitting here in front of your
It's a whole different
phone,
experience. Yeah.
and then losing where you were and getting frustrated. So, yeah.
All right. So you've talked a lot about listening respectfully, and you've talked a lot about just respect. So talk to me about integrity. What does integrity mean to you? And how can you bring integrity to the school board? How do you bring integrity to the school board?
Well, I think integrity is where you have to respect everybody. Like on the school board, I don't always agree with everybody all the time, but we still have to come to an agreement on things. And back in the olden days, I'll say, we had an ethics page that came up, a requirement that came out every year when we started.
It wasn't that long ago. It was at least 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, we went over it as a group, and then at the end, you had to sign it in front of everybody. You know, everybody sat and signed it and then passed it in. And some people didn't want to sign it, and it made kind of a awkward situation. And so I think we really need to take heart and maybe bring that back and require it, and maybe work on some policy, making those kinds of ethics things a little bit more stringent. I think it's probably something that we need to talk about at our retreat when it comes up in the summer about, people are looking at us and they're expecting us to be transparent, respectful, do things honorably. And are we doing that? Are we doing that on a daily basis? Are we being the representatives of them that they are voting us to be? And so I think, we need to get a little bit more into the mix in those various ways so that we can be more transparent and people can see that we are concerned about how we're looked at. I feel very important about it. I'm honest in all those kinds of things, and I want people to think that if they put me on the school board, that I'm going to do things correctly, honestly, and per policy, per procedure, and sign that ethical thing.
With integrity, sure. So why should people vote for you?
I think I have experience. I really love what I do. I feel that I can work with everybody. I feel like our board is a really good board that we can work with. I think I have good ideas going forward to make our education better. And I definitely will work on that because I feel that public education is very important. There's a lot of voucher stuff going around, which I think has its place maybe in some kiddos, but our country was founded on public education, and we really have to keep it going because it's a good thing for kids. Public education helps them grow up and learn to live together, work together, and they need those skills when they move into their adult life. So I will do the work. I will be honest. I'll be transparent. I will listen to you. I'll answer your questions. And I will always do the best for your kids.
Fantastic. That does it for us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you,
wonderful
Diane.
speaking with you.
It was nice to speak with you too, Diane.
Definitely.
Because we've been on the school board
Long time.
a long time together.
A long
Yes.
time. All of my 9 years you were there.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're a wonderful school board member.
Thank you. So that does it for us. Thank you to all of
Thank
you
you.
at home who joined us for this community spotlight, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.